Homeschool Support Center, Grace and I, okay na kami sa homeschooling. Pero alam namin na hindi enough yun eh. Sa amin, gusto talaga namin is you teach your own son, your own child. If you have the opportunity, kung kaya nyo na i-homeschool, yun yung advocate namin. I-homeschool nyo. We don't want you to enroll to us full-time. So, sa homeschooling, we avoid competition. Competing only with oneself. Enough para maging masaya when they go out. We will ensure that our children develop both the skills a sound education provides and competencies essential for individual success. So we are actually a support center. Ang tuition center is focused on the grades, right? Happy Family Homeschool of Excellence, focusing on the grades and the life skills related to that grade.
Good evening. My mic is on mute. Good evening. Thank you. Welcome everyone for another night of discussion. Thank you for joining us. Good evening, Miss Norma. For all those who don't know me yet, this is Nina, Nina Lynn Sulit Kakananta, the founder and managing director of the first Filipino-run international school here in Singapore. So yes, and on my side here.
Yeah, thank you, Miss Nina. Hi, once again, everyone. I'm back. We're back. I am Norma, and I'm here in the Philippines. So, how are you, Miss Nina?
I'm doing great today because I'm very excited again because see, I'm speaking in English because I'm preparing myself to speak to our guest tonight because
we have another guest
yeah, I'm very much excited.
A non-Filipino guest again.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and that's so much good. It's really nice to have on board, and this is our first it's like first male guest because we have a special guest later on that I'll be introducing. But sige, mag-Tagalog muna tayo para doon sa mga nakakaintindi. Mamaya pa naman sila, di ba? So we just speak Tagalog first. Let's just greet at Miss Norma. Thank you for rushing. I know you've been on a full day, day at school. How are you, Miss Norms? How's your first?
Actually, thank you for asking. Actually, ngayong week na to, ito yung simula ng lahat ng battle. Simula ng battle sa new normal way of education, simula ng lahat-lahat ng, basta lahat ng tungkol sa pag-aaral ng mga estudyante. And basically, sabi ko nga kanina, di ba, when I texted you, Miss Nina, magmamadali na ako umuwi ngayon. Sobrang, I had a very long day. Pero syempre, sabi ko nga, hindi ko palalagpasin yung week na to nang hindi natin syempre nakakasama yung viewers natin and ang HFSE family syempre. So, kahit na long day yan, go tayo.
Thank you and so much. Thank you, Miss Norma. And syempre, for our guests as well, because it's a long day for them as well. They just had wrapped up our term PTC. It's called the PTC is the Parent Teacher Child Conference wherein, we speak English na naman ako no? Yung nakakausap namin, ito po yung I think this is what is new, what we have adopted ever since HFSE started na andun yung parent, andun yung teacher, at andun din yung bata na kasama pag-usapan kasi siya yung subject natin. Siya yung ating tinutulungan, di ba? Sa ating
Yes.
motto na galing kay Miss Norma, every
Every
child
child can succeed. Yan, syempre.
Oo, sa HFSEI, one happy family at a time.
At a
Yan.
time. Yan.
Yun. So, magbati muna tayo, Miss Norma, ng ating mga
Ating mga
view.
masusugid. Yes.
May susugid. Eto, kukuhain ko muna ako na madam. Siyempre, yung babatiin natin yung pinaka-supportive.
Syempre,
Ayan.
hula ko. Ay, syempre. Hi, Mr. Gary Giang Kakananta. Sir, mapagpalang gabi. Mapagpalang gabi.
Yeah. Good evening din kay Miss Isa. Thank you for joining us once again.
Hi po.
Ito po. Yan. Watching Miss Norma. This is
Watching here in Team Perez Home Sweet Home by Ann F. Perez. Ayan. Hi, ma'am.
Kumakain na po ba kayo ng dinner? Ayan po. Hello, good evening din po. Magandang gabi kay Ma'am Mitel Flores. Good evening. And this is...
Yeah.
Miss...
Okay, si Mr. Patrick. Oh, hi, Sir Patrick. Go, go, go! HFSE Math Team.
Yeah, we have a share on the viewer for our math team. Thank you, Mr. Patrick, for joining us. Hello.
Very supportive si Sir Patrick, si Mr. Patrick, ha?
Yeah, that's how supportive the math team to each other. Yeah. Another one, of course, she's hello, Mr. Patrick.
Hi, Mr. Patrick.
There's another one who's on the support. Hi, Miss Lucille. Thank you for watching.
Hi, Miss Lucille. Good evening.
And so we have greeted them. Of course, let's greet our student care partner, the KGEM Brilliant Kids. Good evening to you. So yun, Ate Norms, Miss Norma. This has been a long day for all of us already.
Yes.
And looking back, I thought we will not push through with this Balikbahay talk, but we're on our fifth. We're already on our
Lima na!
Five. Wow! At the end of the day, talagang it's about pushing for what you really have planned. Kasi ako nabasa gusto ko yatang i-share. Nasaan nga ba yun?
Sige nga, parinig naman para may words of wisdom tayo before we start.
Yes, may maganda akong nabasa. Which is, I think it all resonates how HFSE, how everything goes in. Gusto ko lang pong i-share sa lahat ng viewers natin, and this is something na I think we can move on. I mean, we can bring on as we go through this journey sa mga nandiyan sa Philippines. You're just starting the battle. But of course, I know we will win over this COVID, over this virus, over this pandemic. In Singapore, we have slowly, gradually lowered down, and they were able to contain. I believe that's where we should always focus on. We always look for the good. I believe that back in the Philippines, we also have that success in conquering the COVID. Let's just look.
Darating tayo dyan, and we are also looking forward into zero case or zero, sana, Lord, please.
Yeah. Correct. So ito na po yung word of wisdom na gusto kong i-share sa inyo. A dream written down with a date becomes a goal. A goal broken down into steps becomes a plan. A plan backed by action becomes reality. Yan. So a dream becomes a reality through a sequence of, from a dream to having a plan, to having a goal, because it has a timeline, and from goal to having a plan, so they can have an action steps, and of course, there now, ito na po tayo. We have the Balikbahay talk. Ayan. So, 'di ba? Galing-galing. So at sabi nga si Miss Norma is one of taga-push yan eh. Sige, gawin natin.
Pusher!
Go! So,
Wala na ayaw!
walang aayaw, walang ganito. walang no backing out, no? Ganun talaga sa bata, walang no retreat, no surrender.
Yes.
You retreat or if you surrender, of course, the only chances are you lose, 'di ba po? So, without further ado, diretso na tayo agad kasi alam natin na maraming naghihintay. Alam yung pogi itong dalawang ano na to eh.
Oo, siyempre.
Na-interaction sa papakita ulit natin para ma-reminisce natin, ma-remind yung viewers natin na ito yung artista po yung yung mga natin sa mga teacher natin sa math team.
Yeah.
So, just like for our first guest, our main guest, and then of course our special guest, Mr. Ezzat Reza Chew. Tama ba? Ezzat. That's the correct way. But we have been used to, hello, Mr. Ezzat.
Hi, Mr.
Hello,
Ezzat. Good evening.
Hi, Miss Norma.
Hi.
Hello, everyone.
Good evening. Thank you for for saying yes. Because of course you have no choice. I would say ask you. Of course. But at the end of the day, I will always be thankful for having you around, for having you in HFSE, for in particular. Na medyo naputol, I have to continue my introduction for Mr. Ezzat. He has been with HFSE not from the really start, but from a month after we started. Is it correct? Like, I'm correct. So February, we started our first academic year in 2016. So Mr. Ezzat, through a referral from a former colleague and also a current teacher then, Miss Kit, I hope Miss Kit is she knows this. I'll send over. She referred Mr. Ezzat to us, and then the rest is history because he's still here. No, it's not yet history, but yeah, this is a history that this has been going on, and it's still a journey with Mr. Ezzat. So we started with him with he has seen my previous self to where I am right now. So it was like I was like this. So I was like this, trying to be this. So yeah, hi, Mr. Ezzat. Yeah. Miss Norma, do you have anything to ask for our pogi, Mr. Ezzat?
Actually, we've met already. That was in 2018, right, Mr. Ezzat? I was there with them because of the lesson planning. So I was able to see him grow with HFSE. And he was, and I'm very thankful because you are still here together with us. And the school is particularly working on with a very knowledgeable person. And we are grateful for having such an inspiring math enthusiast and a math educator that you are. And with that, I'm giving you a lot of commendations. Shall I take away all the questions that are in my mind, Ms. Dina?
Yeah, but before that, I would like to introduce to you one of Mr. Ezzat's baby. But this is a big baby, so I cannot. Whenever I say it's a big, not it's a big like full of wisdom baby. So like I invited him to join this math because this Balikbahay talk because he's also a Singaporean, so we have to speak English. So our bank English bank will probably lose. No more English on our English bank later on. We will have nosebleed. But yeah, I would like to introduce a special guest. I asked him only yesterday, and he straight away said yes. Of course, with the with the approval of his wife first. But of course, he's one of the newest baby of Mr. Ezzat. right, Mr. Izzat? So Mr. Izzat, as being the parent, of course, the head of the mathematics team, he's the one of the baby, and he has helped us instill discipline with a short span of time, instill discipline, and lead one of our core. Because of this pandemic, we have to do it at in our premise. We call it leadership camp, Miss Norma, which I got from my alma mater back in the Philippines. It's called Pandayan
Yes,
Leadership
yes, I
Camp,
know that.
which
I
we
know that.
adopted here in Asia FSE. Thank you, Letran Kalamba. Hello,
Oh, may
Letran
flagging
Kalamba.
kami, Letran!
Ayan, flagging. And then, no, with no further ado, he's a man of wisdom. I agree. Full of knowledge and, of course, leadership and discipline. Let me have on board on the screen, not on the stage, but on the screen. Yeah, Mr. K.
Hi,
Hello.
Mr.
Yeah.
Kumaran, good evening.
Good evening, Miss Norma, Miss Nina. Thank you for having me over here.
Yeah, good evening. Yeah, for
Hello,
Mr. K, actually, in HFSE, we call the guys with the first letter of their name. For Mr. Izzat, we call him Mr. E.
Mr.
So
E
this is
and Mr.
Mr. E. Where is he? Like here, there. Mr.
There.
E and Mr.
There.
K on my Mr. K. So it's easier all of our viewers to remember all of them. Yeah. So Miss Norma, take it away. I know you have a lot of burning questions there.
Yeah, I have a lot of questions in my mind because, Mr. K and Mr. E, I'm not really a math enthusiast, and I am not that good also in English. But since I have children, since they were young, I've been telling them to study math. But I do not believe that math is really difficult. But for me, now that I'm teaching my kids, I'm really trying really very hard to teach them with the approaches, but I have been having this dilemma. So I know mommies and daddies out there who are watching right now, we have to take note of what Mr. K and Mr. E will tell us tonight because this will be very important in the lives of our learner. So without further ado, I'll give you the first question. Are you ready for this one? Because for me, I'm not
Yeah.
yet ready with this question. If I'm going to be asked with this one, so my first question is, why math in particular is useful in preparing our kids for life? So my first question again is, why math in particular is useful in preparing our kids for life? Is it really useful in our everyday lives, or it's just a matter of just you have to sit in a class and you have to listen and you have to solve this and this and those? Could you please enlighten me with this one?
Of course, it's important in life. Um, Basically, it's asking, are you going to live your life without buying anything? Because when we
No
do
money.
shopping and we like take the cab or we do our own budgeting, even when playing our games, we use maths. It's
Mm-mm.
right in counting, getting the points. Uh, and of course, to prepare us for life, especially in this kind of unprecedented times, to calculate how much we're going to get from our governments, right? Yeah. So yes, maths is very important and very
Yeah.
useful actually.
To emphasize the importance of mathematics in Singapore, English, mathematics, and science in general are the core subjects for schools, primary and secondary schools, even in junior college. Um, we expect our students to have a very strong foundation in these areas because it goes on to help them in the later stages of their lives. Um, I didn't know about that, the importance of mathematics till I was in secondary school. Um, yeah, and it was only then that I actually started getting better at mathematics. In primary school, I was a very poor learner in mathematics, unfortunately. So yeah, mathematics. I cannot stress how important mathematics is.
Yeah.
It's because basically I was telling my kids, I have three girls here in the house, so they're all good in English, but they are really having a hard time in mathematics. So I do not know if I'm going to tell them you have to memorize this and you have to memorize those. But eventually, the one that you are telling us that it's really very needed. Like when we go on shopping, just what Mr. E said, you have to take note of the the budgeting, of course. They have to take note of computation and all. But yeah, I guess that's one important thing that we have to remember, that mathematics is all around us. It's very important in everyday lives, right, Miss Nina? So
Yeah. Yes, of course. As I mentioned, I'm an accountant. I have bias
yeah,
in mathematics. And I won't deny these two guys, of course, besides they are my teachers, I love mathematics. That's something that if I would be the one being the guest here, I can emphasize how important mathematics, especially as Mr. Isat would mention, here, the grant, competition of the grant, how are we going to receive? And of course, there's a lot of things that mathematics would, it's not just around the mathematics itself. It can also go through other subjects that, we will be able to use through science. And that's the reason why as well that I came to love accounting because of my love for mathematics. Maybe they say it's difficult, but I hope I will just send this message to my mathematics teacher back in the Philippines. The reason why I love math, you know why? The reason why I love math is because it's not just I love, it's not, it's about, I like my math teacher. I like my math teacher. So I would like to say hi to Mr. Mose, Mr. Inohosa back in the Philippines. I love mathematics because they were my math teacher. And I came to have here the being an accountant because yeah, I love doing the problems. So I really love solving the problem. So yeah, there's so many things that I
yeah, you
support
mentioned, Miss
mathematics.
Nina, you mentioned about loving math. Now my
Mm.
question is, when I was in grade 4, I had this one lesson. It's actually fraction. And when I studied music, I had to compute fraction, like the time signature, the notes, the values of notes, like 1/4 is one is for the choir note. That means I have a 1/4 these and 1/2 those, like that, for notation. So why is math so difficult for other people? That's my next question. Why is math so difficult? Wherein the other people would say, "Oh, I love math. Oh, I really love mathematics." But for other people, why do you think math is so difficult?
Well, I think the first thing is it's difficult because that's also quite subjective. It depends on the person, and also it also depends on, like what Tina mentioned. It also depends on the teacher, uh, and also depends on the syllabus. That's also
Mm-mm.
uh, one thing in that's why it's one thing in Singapore mathematics, right? We stress on the attitude also, one of the things, and we try to develop the skills, and we give them the concepts and the processes, and um, to get, I think, but the attitude is the main thing that we need stress here. Uh, well, difficult is also very subjective. So like I mentioned, Mr. K, do you have any thoughts on this also?
Mr. K, who loved math when he's secondary.
Yeah. I don't think that any child should be pigeonholed as being poor in mathematics, right? I think it's about their journey through the subject and how they are led through on that journey. All right. So in the history of Singapore maths is this, right? In 1980s, they basically sent a team of teachers to countries like Japan, all right, Canada, to basically study how maths is taught in those countries. And when they came back to Singapore, they had the task, the very daunting task of coming up with the program. So they basically came up with the backbone of the Singapore mathematics syllabus back in the 1980s. And one thing that they have included in the teaching of mathematics is this concept by this educational psychologist by the name of Jerome Bruner. And what he suggested is to bring through learners through different stages: concrete, pictorial, abstract. All right. And by placing manipulatives in front of early learners and getting them to understand the basics of a particular concept, and then moving on to pictures on worksheets and workbooks, and eventually coming up, getting them through abstract concepts later on, we find that forming connections based on prior learning becomes a lot easier. So sometimes you can go on a tour and go to the exact same places, but if your tour guide is a jovial chap, and he explains to you the different places that you go to, he makes the trip fun for you, your experience will be a lot better than the other guy who maybe has a dead-faced, zombie-like tour guide. Yeah.
Yeah, agree. Yeah.
I like what Mr. E said about having confidence for not to be able to have difficulty in math, and what Mr. K said, that math is actually, I perceive that math is actually a journey with a fun field. It's like a fun field journey. So I like the thought that we teach our kids. So mommies and daddies out there, we do mathematics in our daily living. So like in going to shopping malls, in going to anything that we do at home. So we have to take note of that we have to make it an enjoyable and fun-filled experience. So I guess it's important that I'm having a little, yeah. I guess it's important that we teach them to use mathematics in a daily basis, not to input mathematics as course through by the books, right? So that's what I get from you, and I'm kind of liking that way of thinking, because I guess I was taught with mathematics by merely memorizing the table of multiplications, and by merely like a rote memorization. That's what we do during our times, because I'm 40, and my generation was taught by remote. Yeah, I'm okay with my age, but I'm not really okay with the way that we were given the idea and how we go. Yeah, we have a lot of different trends in learning, but this one that you have given us, I know our viewers out there are learning that we have to make it a fun-filled experiences, and it's like a journey. Now, my next question is: here in the Philippines, we don't have actually a label for mathematics, but in Singapore, you have there the Singaporean mathematics, and you have mentioned it already, Mr. K. Now, kindly enlighten me about the difference between this, the usual mathematics and the Singaporean mathematics. Mr. E, Mr. K, could you please give us, our viewers, me and Miss Nina, about what's the difference between the two? Like, is this an approach? Is this a trend, or is this a challenge? What's the difference between uh, is this a basic mathematics or a mathematics with the Singaporean mathematics?
Okay. Well, let me start with the framework. framework of Singapore mathematics. The main focus of Singapore mathematics is problem solving, right? Problem solving, and we work around. I think I mentioned one of the few pillars, but we work around 5 pillars, where to is sorry the metacognitive, right? The skills, the concepts, the attitude, as I mentioned just now, and processes, right? And these pillars support the mindset, right, of the problem solving, right? So that the benefit that we want to give, we want to give our learners, right, is we want to nurture the right attitude, as I mentioned, right attitude, and to get them to think, think for themselves, whether what when they do a problem, when they come to a problem, uh, why did they solve it this way, or if they did not solve it, right? Why did they take the other route? If it's supposed to be an addition, why did they do a subtraction, right? So this is one of the things that we want to instill in mathematics, and basically we want to develop that right attitude to make them lifelong learners, right? Okay, and we have one also. Mr. K, I'll leave it to you. Your favorite,
Um,
the H.
No, I would also like to add that in 2016, there was this interview, and they were talking about what the difference is between Western approach to mathematics versus the Singaporean approach, right? And the main difference is that in the Western approach, they cover plenty of topics in a year, all right, but they only go this deep, right? It's a very touch and go approach. And in Singapore, the main aim of the Singapore syllabus is to try to get the child to think like a mathematician. All right. So it's the approach towards the learning of the subject that is different over here. We are not trying to get them to be, to learn one topic after another. Rote learning, you were mentioning that earlier, Ms. Norma, and that's something that we are definitely trying to move away from. It's not about memorization. It's not about being able to regurgitate what the teacher says to them in the classroom. It's about being able to think. It's about being able to apply. Uh, it's about problem solving. All right, which is with that kind of attitude, you would be able to overcome challenges in the future. It is these kinds of students who would be more resilient, and that's the kind of learners that we want. Lifelong learners who are resilient, who have the right attitude to tackle the challenges in life.
Amen. Like I was like, I was preaching. No, yeah, that's something. Yeah, thank you, Mr. K. I, I have not experienced learning Singapore math, but I have, of course, with the biases that I have as being an accountant and mathematics as one of my favorite subjects. If I could go back in time where I would learn Singapore mathematics, I would do that. For those my mathematics teacher there, I know that they will be able to help me out. Yeah, as Mr. K has mentioned, mathematics is not just about numbers. It's about the life skill that a student will learn. It's about not giving up until a solution is found on this problem, and I can get, maybe it's wrong, but you can see that the thinking process that it has uh, helped that child to be able to get an answer whether it's correct or not, is what I like about mathematics, especially problem solving. It's not just about 1 plus 1. It's how come 3 less than 2 is 1. The other than 3 minus 1, -2 is 1. So it's like there is so many complication in life that you can put into Singapore mathematics. So I'm very much Singaporean, sorry. But I love Singapore math. That's the reason why I adapted it for HFSE as well. So without biases, and because I just learned just now from Mr. Kumeran about the 3 things. I didn't, because I do my research also. But I only knew that this particular researcher, Singaporean researcher, went to Japan. That's what I didn't know. And it's something like it's an ASEAN, it's an Asia thing that it makes we make things complicated. No, 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 no. No, we make things easier to comprehend. And this subject is something that it's not just about mathematics. It's about life. I'm building up to
Ah,
Yeah.
Thank you so
yeah.
much, Mr. K, for sharing that.
Thank you. Thank you for your insight also, Miss Nina, Mr. K and Mr.
Mm-mm.
E. Because, here in the Philippines, a lot of, mathematics enthusiasts or agency wanted to promote Singaporean math. So some agencies would produce a school or a or a firm or actually a small center for claiming that they have the Singaporean map. So I got a little confused with the difference, and that now that I realize what you said, Mr. E said right attitude for a lifelong learning, while Mr. K said that we do away from the approaches with plenty of topics, but we move on to outcomes based of learning, meaning to say problem solving. So that's what Miss Nina also I'm trying to put into context so that the parents out there would merely realize that math isn't a subject, it's actually part of our daily basis. So that is a very good notion that we learned tonight, that math is very important, not just because you wanted your kid to obtain high scores. It will not bring you to success and actually, but the lessons that you will learn in math will bring you obtain a higher purpose, and that will be part of your life. So I got so many things tonight, but I still have three more questions if you will permit me to do that. So, and Miss Nina, also, I will ask you, you will be part of this question because you are an accountant and it's because I'm not really into math.
Not
I'm into
prepared.
music, I'm into English. So that's why my next question is, um, what could possibly be the advantages of having a Singaporean math instead the just the basic math? So in HFSE, for instance, because we have the HFSE as already. So Singaporean math is actually established in HFSE. So now that we are having the V School, we are also promoting Singaporean math in V School. So my question is, what is the advantages of having the Singaporean math in our curriculum? Shall I ask first Miss Nina this time or Mr. K this time? Mr. K.
Yeah, I think Mr.
Mr.
Ezzat is
K first.
opening
Yeah.
the answers first. I'll go. One thing I'll have to say is that our school has a lot of students from other countries who have joined us, who are growing together with us. And one advantage of learning Singaporean math, if you could label it as that, is that wherever you go after that, all right, you probably would have an edge over the students at the same level. All right, you will find it easier to go in and to uh, join in on the lesson. And the reason for that is because you've been inculcated with the attitude, that positivity, that never say die mentality. All right.
Yes.
Yes, you will find a solution to that. All right.
Mm-mm.
If you can't find it today, it's okay. I always tell my students, it's not about the answer. It's about that journey. It's about that process. I want you to go through that process. Make mistakes. You're learning. You're
Yeah.
supposed to make mistakes, right? But at the end of that, you will come out, all right, with that process of learning, and you will learn to overcome your challenges. And with that right attitude and mentality, wherever you go in the world, you will survive.
Yeah.
Amen. Another
That's
preaching
so
by
deep.
Pastor.
Mr. E, please.
To support.
I think with the um, well, I think the attitude is the most important thing. The case already touched on that. Of course, in my own personal experience, I was also brought up overseas. So when I came back, I was in Sri Lanka when I was primary school, and when I came
Mhm.
back, it was actually really challenging to keep up. And thankfully, my dad was the one who schooled me in in Sri Lanka. He was my tutor, very strict tutor he was, and so I'm lucky with his help. But I really felt the difference. So Mr. King has what he mentioned that not only will we do the attitude, but the syllabus itself, really the knowledge, the content, the tools that the child will learn in Singapore math will really make uh, any learning outside anywhere else in the world easier, if I were to say easier or manageable, because the level of the level of challenge is much higher than Singapore here. Very challenging.
May I also add something? Just a few years ago, I think about 4 years ago, half of the primary schools in England, at the cost of 41 million pounds, actually adopted the Singapore mathematics syllabus. So
Wow.
Nice.
exactly, in other countries like in Indonesia, Cambodia,
Mm-mm.
Canada,
Mm-mm.
all right, and schools in even United States of America, they are adopting our syllabus. So they are seeing the value in the approach that we have adopted over here in Singapore. So perhaps even if our students were to go to other countries, they would be able to find schools that are also teaching mathematics with those syllabus and would be able to assimilate with ease.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yes. Uh, I guess I'm speechless because I can see that for these two, uh, you know, people who are blessed with much knowledge and skills in mathematics, you seem to relay mathematics in your students in a practical manner.
Mm-mm.
I hope we parents, me and Miss Nina and other parents out there would take note of this one that we have to treat mathematics in a practical manner. So kids won't be thinking that it's difficult, that it's too hard, that it's not easy, and that it's not practically uh, lovable to do to learn mathematics. So I've got that, Mr. Ian, Mr. K, that mathematics, we have to treat it in a practical manner. So it's like a journey. Miss Nina, I have this one question. This one is for you because you are an accountant. So I will treat you this time as a speaker as well. I wanted to
Okay.
ask Miss Nina, being a Filipina in Singapore, how are your kids learning Singaporean math? Is it easy for them? Is it difficult for them? Or uh, does it give them a lot of learning rather than the just mathematics subject?
That's a very difficult question. Honestly speaking, maybe for me, I'm not a very hands-on mom. I would tell you that I really leave my kids. I mean, just one actually. It's Mr. Ezzat's student, so maybe Mr. Ezzat can help me out. Oh, because I homeschool my son. When I homeschool him, I'm not teaching him the Singapore math because we are using the Philippine syllabus for mathematics. So when he came in on board P2 and under Mr. Izzat, I never knew mathematics, Singapore mathematics, how to solve it or how to. But I knew in myself and in deep in my heart that he has been learning. He has been independently learning by himself. So and even like my husband there watching over there, um, he even told us that Gabriel is more intelligent than him. So he acknowledged that. Eh, Singapore math, as I would say, he. he can easily understand. At the end of the day, as I shared with you, Singapore, I mean, any mathematics in particular, as long as your teacher are able to help you deal with it and you are able to relate it to the life, to life itself, on the practicality that you can apply it in your daily life, it's easier to embrace math or Singapore math. But I love Singapore math that it helps the children. Maybe because I'm an adult already, my brain is already too much or too little or shrinking already that I will not be able to absorb it. But yeah, I have biases over math, but Singapore mathematics, as I review it on the perspective of a parent and a mathematics enthusiast, I would claim, and an accountant. Um, what if you have seen my first video? I mean, my first talk, or my first ever homeschooling 101 talk. The goal why we adapted Singapore math is because we wanted to have the kids learn the academics and the life skills attached to it. And that's how Singapore math has done it. And that's how I have a lot of things to share about Singapore math, and I have high praises on that. It's because that's what we only teach Singapore math, and that's okay. No, we have to teach English also. No. Miss Lulu will be mad at me.
Yeah.
And the rest of the teacher, of course, we have to teach the other, of course. But yeah, my grandma, she's illiterate. She only finished primary one, probably didn't finish at all, but she can compute in her brain, and that's where she it leads her. She was able to acquire land. She was able to become have a farm by herself, just being able to know the basics of mathematics. So that's why I love Singapore math. I Singapore math or mathematics in particular, but of course Singapore mathematics. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Miss Nina. I love the idea that we have to take note not only the the core concepts of mathematics, but how we treat each lesson and be able to transform it into a learning experiences. So that's what I saw in you. I just hope I had a math teacher like you, Mr. Kumaran and Mr. Izzat.
You can
But I
enroll.
didn't say that they are I didn't say that they're not good. Say I'm saying hi to all my mathematics teacher. It's just that probably it's true that not probably. I believe it's true that it's a matter of these ingredients, the one that you say, um, the confidence, the learnings, and transferring it to journey, the right attitude, the right mentality, positivity in treating mathematics. So I guess these are all imperative to turn a child as a successful one. And in HFSE and V School, I believe if this will be our gauge in teaching mathematics, Mr. K and Mr. E would be passing on their knowledge and skills to the other generation. And that would be very meaningful for our parents out there, mommies and daddies. It's very meaningful that tonight that we learn about mathematics as a practical way to life, not
Mhm.
just a subject to be learned at the four corners of your home or at the comfort of a school. So thank you for that, Mr. Iza. Thank you, Mr. Kumaran. And thank you, Miss Nina, for being the one of the
Sige po.
speakers for tonight because I'm the only not really just English or music enthusiast, but I'm not really into math, and I know that to myself. So before we end this, Miss Nina, would you like to give them our last and final, yeah, question or
Final
rather,
question.
yeah,
Um, for me, just this one would be a simple message probably for
Yes.
encouraged parents who are losing patience in teaching.
Am
How
I included in them, in those parents?
maybe question mark. I mean, just a word of encouragement, Mr. E and Mr. K. How how can we help? Just to let you know, for our mathematics team, we do have this what we call learn as your child learn, because when you become a parent, whether you like it or not, you will have to learn again. As Miss Potsi, Miss Apple had said, you need to learn, to unlearn, to relearn. So
Yes.
yeah, there's so many learnings. But just your words of encouragement to our 28, or we have a high viewing to this tonight because probably of our very pogi, pogi. You know what
Yes.
pogi, right? Pogi,
Handsome. Good
pogi is
looking.
like, yeah, good looking. Pogi guest. Your words of encouragement to for them to really, you know, go on with teaching math, not just mathematics, but Singapore mathematics.
So is that's your cue?
Yeah.
After.
Here, here.
I sure. Okay. I was thinking of you, but okay. Ah, well, I would leave technicals to Mr. King, but I would my advice will be more personal, because I'm a parent myself, and I know how stressful it can become. And actually, in fact, once when my son was teaching maths also, and I got so fired up also, and why he couldn't. And then I realized that I wasn't. Why am I not fired up with my other students, but why with my son? So personally, I think it was because he's my son. So you you think that you was born with your genes and you should pick up maths immediately. So expectation. I think for my advice to parents is to manage their expectations, not bring it down, but uh, to look at this as that you are helping the child. That the child is not supposed to not being born, because some parents have really high, put the expectations too high sometimes. It's natural. We all think the best of our child, so it's nothing to be ashamed. But that's a natural thing. So my advice is to bring them down from that pedestal just for that moment, right? And help them, encourage them, not assume that they should know. And so this is my advice: to take it down, be patient, take it slowly, guide them along, and not just like how uh, a mother goes or mother, but push, nudge them a little bit off the nest, and you see them fly. All right. So that's my advice. Mr. K.
Thank you, Mr.
Yay!
From someone who disciplined the kids in a positive way. Let's hear from Mr. K here.
Well, what we have to realize is that our eyes are different from our children's, right? Um, Sometimes when we look at a math problem, we might say that it's so easy. How come he's not seeing it? How come he's not getting it? Um, it's different for the child, right? And I don't think we should ever say it's so easy. Why can't you see it? That's not something that we should tell the child. Another thing is it's okay for your child to not understand something at a certain point in time. All right, and if you're starting to get frustrated, step back from it. Take a step back, and you can revisit the concept at a later date, later time. It might just be that your child is not ready for it just yet. All right, and there's no necessity to learn it right at that point. You could try something else. Because if you
Mhm.
force the matter, then your child starts to lose his or her confidence, right? And they might not even want to try it out in the end. And that's not something that we want to do. Oh, and the other thing is, don't say that your child is not good at math. They might not be, they're not good at it yet. They will get good at it later, right? Let's stop drawing boundaries for ourselves. There's enough people doing that already. We don't need to jump on that bandwagon and start boxing ourselves up. I'm not good at math. I'm not good at English. I'm not good at science. No, we're great at everything if we put our minds to it, right? So
Agree.
I told you that I was horrible at mathematics in primary school, right? Until I met a teacher in secondary school, and he made me look at math like some complex game, and I wanted to solve all the puzzles in this game, and that's the reason why. So it's how we see things, right? So don't box yourself in. Give yourself an opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. E and Mr. K. EK. In Philippines, we have this EK. And when we say it's EK, it's called Enchanted
Enchanted
Kingdom.
Kingdom.
It's similar to a Universal Studios, but it's very, very oh, no, no, no. It's similar. Happy memories. Happy memories.
And
It's near our
mathematics. The
yeah.
kingdom of mathematics. That's what this is.
Yes. Enchanted. Yeah, you'll be enchanted with the value that mathematics, of course. What as you shared a little while ago, it's about the journey. Have to make it fun for the kid. When you are having fun, it's easier for you to learn things because you're enjoying it. Let the kid enjoy, not just actually for mathematics, but for all the subjects that they are learning. As long as, which is like that's our belief. Every child can succeed. Maybe not at the same pace that we want them, but every child can succeed. Maybe today your child fails, but in the near future, there are people there are a lot of inspiring people who fail, might as well fail now than fail later. So when especially how I like these two guys teaching mathematics, of course, is because we get a mistake, when you get a mistake, the next time around you don't repeat it because it's the one you remember. Oh, this is where I got a mistake. I would want this to be correct the next time around. So that's the beauty of mathematics. And thank you for sharing not just the mathematics, Mr. K and Mr. E, but the wisdom behind mathematics. So we have a very fruitful, wonderful, wise, no, 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 no. Iba pa lang. That's different. A wonderful night with the both of you. Thank you for sharing your time, of course, and sharing your wisdom with us.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much, Mr. E and Mr. K. Mommies and daddies out there, please do not forget, according to Mr. E, we have to encourage our kids not just to learn math and but be able to live by it and use it in daily basis. So Mr. K said, do not box yourself. No subject stereotyping. It means move out from the stigma that mathematics is difficult. So we have to move forward to lead our children, your children, our students to success. So we believe that every child can succeed, one happy family at a time. The support of you parents will be our achievement. So with that, thank you so much, Mr. E, Mr. K. Thank you so much,
Thank
Miss Nina,
you.
for insights as well. Yeah.
Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
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 Yeah. Yeah.
Ayan.
Yeah. Di ba? So nice. Thank you to our Pogi. There are macho. They're
Mukhang
all,
maraming nanood, Miss Nina.
yeah. They
Meron ba
love
tayong,
mathematics.
kaya nga, meron ba tayong mga questions dyan sa Facebook or may
Oo
comment
nga,
ba
hindi natin
sila?
sila na ano kung ano yung mga question
Oo.
nila. Basta, ano lang, they're just chilling around. Si Miss, hello, Teacher Darlie. Si math teachers nila, si Barbie
Ah,
Raya.
ay,
Teacher Darling from,
hi!
yeah. She's also our
Oo,
student from Letran to HFSE. Yan, hi!
yeah. I know them because they were, she was studying in Colegio de San Juan de Letran Calamba, our alma mater. Hi, Letran Calamba. So she was a student before, and then when she went to Singapore, yes, nag-aral din siya sa HFSE.
She's
And
still here with
syempre,
us.
maganda yung school na puntahan niya. Yes, yes, yes.
Yan. So, grabe, no? Sobrang ang dami pa nating pwedeng pag-usapan about mathematics and we can
Oo.
go on and on and on.
Kaya lang kulang yung oras natin.
Yeah.
Sayang. Pero next time, pwede rin naman natin silang invite ulit, no? Pwede
Correct,
yan.
correct. So,
So,
yun.
Miss Tina, meron ba tayong other, like, meron ba tayong reminders dyan? Meron ba tayong
Yeah, may reminders tayo. Marami tayong reminders there. For this coming Saturday, we will be having our open house. So for those who would like to join, yeah, just click on our very gorgeous, if you would know, ilalagay lang yan sa comment. Ayan sa baba. And we will put it that. And for those na you think na would like to experience Singapore mathematics, the HFSEan way, through, guided by our dear mathematics teacher. Yan po. So we can discuss more about it on virtual V-School open houses and online. So anywhere from the world you want to know how we can help you and your child learn not just the Singapore math, but the life, how to prepare to the life ahead. Yan, then click lang po. And of course, next week, may next week pa po tayo. Siyempre, may next week pa tayo. May episode 6.
Sino nga yung bisita natin for next week?
Naku, surprise guest yata yan.
Surprise ba? So, sige. So, para sa mga avid viewers natin dyan, wag po tayong mawawala next Thursday. Kasi may special guest tayo sa susunod na Thursday.
Yan, oo. So, yun. So, sa Thursday po, babalik po ulit kayo. Thank you for watching. For all those who watch us just now, sino pa ba dito? Si Miss Jans. Of course, our team who always support us, Miss Jans, Miss Len. Sabi nga ni Miss Jill, agree, I started loving math when I was in college. I have no choice because I took engineering course. Yeah, of course. Yeah. So thank you for joining us tonight. And we are looking forward to having you around next week for another night of virtual discussion on this new normal. So, sige po. Pero nakakalimutan ko pong sabihin. Well, lagi nating tandaan, ang maganda kinabukasan ng kabataan ay nagsisimula sa tahanan. Kaya, balik! Boy!
See you next Thursday!
Bye!